Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Rockstar Doctor Life. As usual, I've got an interesting guest here that we're going to chat about all things life and practice. As not only a licensed practicing chiropractor, someone who's got a clinical practice, but someone who's also involved in teaching and sharing, and someone who's just doing some interesting things and cool things in the world. It's got on my radar. So thanks for joining me, Dr. Strap Polson.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Tell us a little bit about your current practice life model, what things you're working on right now, and then I'm sure we'll dive into, how you got here.
Yeah, so I run an all cash micro practice model.
Okay.
So during the week, I am solo doc, no staff. So during the week, I'm greeting the patients, treating the patients, rescheduling, taking payment, all that. And
Hmm.
then on the weekend, my wife helps me as my CA at the front desk. And so she does some of that more admin stuff, check in, check out, rescheduling. And that allows me to double, triple, quad book up during the week on our visits. I run an adjustment only clinic in Dallas, Texas. And
Okay.
I've been in practice for about 5 years. I graduated from Parker in 2021.
And so, how was your first 5 years of practice been? Like, was it what you thought it would be like graduating?
No, so the whole time that I was in school, if you had asked me what I wanted to do, I would have told you that I was going to work at the VA hospital. In my mind, when I was going into school, like that's where the real doctors work. The real doctors work in the hospital, and I wanted to be a real doctor, and so I wanted to
Mm.
work in the hospital. I also come from a military family. I didn't serve, but I have a long line of service in my family, and so I wanted to kind of be involved in that in some way. So that was my goal, and the whole way through school, I was working towards that, and then I ended up getting the VA internship and my internship in school, and then I went to go work there, and I thought, oh no, I've made a horrible mistake because this is not at all what I want to do or how I want to practice. Um, and I've heard that there's some variance between the Dallas VA and VAs in different states, but what I found is just when I was working at the Dallas VA, there was a lot of red and yellow tape. You couldn't really treat at the frequency and duration that you would need to get people better. And so I kind of had this realization that, we can't coordinate with PT. So if they're doing PT, they can't see the chiropractic clinic concurrently. There were a lot
Hmm.
of things that I wanted to do in terms of technique wise that I couldn't do with them. And I also realized that because of the volume of patients that we were trying to see, we were having to space out the frequency of patients' care to make room for other people on the schedule. And so we were seeing patients at a frequency and duration that I didn't think gave them any real shot at getting better, especially for these chronic and complicated cases. And so, graduation came around. I'd done zero interviews. I had no associate prospects. And, I graduated and I was like, well, my dream is kind of not worked out quite how I thought it would. So, thankfully for me, I was a massage therapist before I was a chiropractor. And I did massage for about 13 years. 10 of those were in private practice. So, I had a small rented room inside a shared office space that I was doing massage out of all the way through school. And so I
Hmm.
thought, well, I don't have any associate prospects. I'm not going to go work at the VA like I thought I was going to do. So I went to the office, swapped my massage table for a chiropractic table, set up a laptop with my EHR, and I started treating patients
Hmm.
the very next month. So I graduated on August, and then I opened my practice in September.
Hmm.
Um, and so that was kind of how I got open. So not at all how I thought the beginning of my career was going to go.
Yeah.
Um,
And but learning as you went along, right? And just are you still, and since then you're still in private practice?
yes, still in private
Yeah, and
practice, still that
still.
same micro model.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I practice. I run my practice out of 500 square feet. I call it small but mighty, right? I have a great team of people that work for me, but there's no one in the office with me at any time. Online booking, prepayment, a lot of things obviously automated nowadays, but it really for me has drawn the right people into the culture and the community that I have here with the kind of care that I'm a family care office. So it's really created a really unique environment that I absolutely love. Have you found the same thing, like running it on your own? That people themselves connect with you differently, and then I guess with your wife as well.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a way that patients interact with you that is different when you're at a big clinic, multi-doc, multi-staff members, and the clinic's brand or logo is kind of the face of the company
Hmm.
versus you being the face of the company, your brand, and
Hmm.
the connection that you have with your patients. You find that like we don't really get, I mean, I hear other docs talk about like patients being rude to the staff or yelling up at the front desk and things like that. It's just never happened at my office because I don't think
Hmm.
any patient would dare be that way with me face to face, and they certainly wouldn't be that way to my wife.
Right.
And so, there are benefits to that in the closeness. And I think you keep a closer tab on all your patients. Like it feels more personal.
Hmm.
When they come in, you remember what's going on with them, what you've been working on. And I really like that. I don't think that I would ever grow out into a much larger practice or into like a franchise model and have multiple different locations is not really something I'm interested in, is being a manager of multiple locations and
Yeah.
coming out of care.
Yeah.
Now I'm 5 years in, so maybe 15 years in, that might be a different story. Maybe I'll be looking to exit patient care, but I can't really see it. I mean, I love what I do. I've
Yeah.
got a really nice, if you want to call it work-life balance, kind of a
Yeah.
cushy schedule,
Yeah.
and it's exactly what I want it to be for me.
Yeah, I love that. And I think this is one of the we talked in the pre-chat, and listeners, you know this. I mean, this is the hallmark of, the mission for me with this show is like showing you like there's so many different ways to build a beautiful life within chiropractic, right? And I've talked to docs who knew at a very early point of their career that they love the clinic management side. They love the acquisition of practices and the HR and managing teams. I'm like, that is not my game. Give me like direct clinic care, human contact, simple model of business, and I'm happy and thriving in that. And I know again who I am and what works for me. And it sounds like you've very much done the same, Strat.
Very much. Yeah, I think that I would be miserable in a role where it was like all administrative, and don't get me wrong, there's still some fun things to the strategy, patient acquisition, and some of
Yeah,
the higher level kind of administrative type tasks that go into practice building and business in general.
yeah,
But I like being in the trenches. I like treating people. I like doing things myself, automating
hmm,
things to buy back your time. Like you said, a lot of the things are automated in terms of
yeah.
patient acquisition and communications. But I think I would be miserable. And that's why I didn't, that's why I became a chiropractor and I didn't go work in finance or do an office job or,
Right.
you know, if you wanted to run businesses, there's a lot easier ways to get into running businesses than getting a chiropractic degree. So
That is true. Yeah. So if you're doing all of this on your own, like what are you finding are some of the ways that you've been growing your practices effectively? Are you referral based? You do some great marketing. I know you do some great stuff on social media, but have there been things that you found consistently have helped you grow and retain?
So social media is obviously the big one. That's where most people hear about me, where most people know about me. I'm most notable for the social presence.
Hmm.
What's interesting about that is I'd say for like at least the first 3.5 years, maybe even 4 years of practice, majority of my patients were all coming from social. So on our intake forms, like, how did you hear about our clinic? Social media, they would put TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, right? But I've really been hammering on Google reviews.
Hmm.
And so what's interesting is lately, about the last year or so, it's been about a 50-50 split. We've got nearly 700 5-star reviews now on Google.
Mm.
And so now about half of patients just say, "Oh, I looked up chiropractors near me. You have incredible reviews. And so we chose you." And so they come
Yeah.
in and then they see like the YouTube plaque on the wall and stuff like that. And they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, what's going on? Where am I?" And I'm like, "Oh, you don't know where you're at right now."
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, traditionally it was social media, organic and paid. Paid is obviously what's going to get new patients in the door.
Right.
Um, and then now we've got a big, strong Google reviews kind of push that's helping us rank along with some of the YouTube SEO
Yeah.
strategies. And that's kind of where most of our new patients come from because I do around 50 new patients a month.
Right.
Um, and DFW is one of those big metroplexes in the country. And so we've got a
Yeah.
large population to pull from.
Yeah. And so for you, like finding that results on Google, like do you use any of the third party like review software kind of stuff, or do you just directly ask people or have a QR code in your office, or how do you streamline that for you?
I directly ask people, we have a QR code stand in the office. I got like a nice one made on Etsy
Yeah.
that I believe is like 3D printed. So it's got a QR code. It also has that tap technology so they can tap it as well. It'll show up on their
Yeah.
phone. It's got the Apex Chiropractic logo and branding on it. But basically, what I do is anytime a patient says anything out loud, like
Hmm.
glowing about their treatment, like they feel so much better, their
Hmm.
pain's gone, they can't believe it, I'll just ask the patient, hey, would you be willing to leave us a review about your experience? It really
Hmm.
helps us on Google. And what I find about that, and I tell docs when I'm coaching them too, is have that QR code in the treatment room and make that something that the doc asks, not something that your desk staff asks,
Yeah.
because the patient's going to have better rapport with you as their doc. And what you'll find is when they scan that code, it's up on their phone. So even if they put their phone to sleep, when they walk out to their car and then try to pull up Google Maps or do anything else, it's the first thing that pops up on their phone. And
Yeah.
so what I've found is that patients are more likely to do that either on their way out to the car or in their car before leaving, and you actually get
Mm.
the review.
Right.
Previously, when I sent like email review requests or text message review requests or anything like that, we just didn't get as much volume of reviews because patients will forget or they'll say, "Oh, I'll get to this later," and then it just never ends up happening.
Hmm.
So those automated systems, what I found is they sound nice in theory, but they
Hmm.
just don't convert. And a lot of things are that way. If you're doing it yourself,
Yeah.
you're going to convert better. But I found putting that QR code in the treatment room, having the
Yeah.
doc themselves ask, gets much better compliance with those reviews.
Yeah, I find it. I did have a QR code on a postcard, like kind of nicely, framed thing in my office for the longest time. And I used it also as a cue for me to just ask people. And sometimes I would just send them directly a text link or something. I found that it didn't, people like, they wouldn't, people do the reviews because I asked them. I agree with you 100%. And I don't use any third party software or anything either. And I think that if you just take a few moments, it obviously saves you money too, right? If you're not using any of those platforms. But thanks for that reminder. I think I'll bring that little postcard thing out again because it's a good anchor for people and it's a good way for people to remember. Even to now I'm just thinking out loud, giving them a postcard or something to take with them, like thanks, for the review, or would love for you to give us a story. How did you get started on YouTube?
So, I mean, it was not always the goal to become a social media chiropractor in air quotes.
Right,
Really, I knew that social media was going to be a good way to get new patients. And
right.
although I probably seem very outgoing to people from the outside, I am not actually that comfortable talking to strangers. So the idea of going and doing like a spinal screening or
Hmm.
giving a business card to the waitress and telling her about chiropractic or approaching people out in the community, walking into businesses and handing out cards, I,
Yeah,
that makes me want to break out into a sweat, the idea of doing
yeah,
that. So,
yeah.
um, I knew social media chiropractic was a thing. I'd looked up to some of the big docs like Dr. Hightower and Dr. Tubio who'd been doing it. And they inspired me in school, even like Dr. Ian. A lot of people are familiar with that Australian Gonstead chiropractor who has the famous video of the kid who came in all hunched over from pulling out a stump and he adjusted a few times and gets this kid stood back upright. So
Right.
those things inspired me when I was in school as a student. And so I said, okay, well, maybe I'll post some videos and I'll just try not to, go out of business and dishonor my family by completely crashing and burning. So let's post some videos, try to get some patients and see how it goes. And lo and behold, some of those videos really ended up gaining some traction, some steam. I started to get a tremendous following, much higher than I ever thought that this would be. And it's ended up being an incredible patient acquisition model. And also, it's given me a lot more exposure to other docs. And I teach seminars and have online courses and things like that. And so it's
Hmm.
given me exposure to docs. It's given me exposure to new patients. It's just been tremendous. I mean, I can't recommend social highly enough.
Right.
It's really responsible for the way that things have worked out for me.
Yeah. And have you ever had, obviously the negative side of it, where sometimes docs will tell me like they don't want to do video because they don't want to get, bad comments or trolls or people saying shit about them. Like, have you had to deal with anything negative in any level, especially with the volume
Yeah.
of people seeing your videos?
Yeah, I have near constant nonsense in the comment
Okay.
section and stuff like that. Now, I'm a little bit more of a combative personality. Like, so if
Yeah.
you come for me, I'll come back for you. And so it's a little bit fun for me. So a lot of patients, I have this saying, and both my patients and other docs love it. When someone comments, I will kind of do clapbacks and then I'll post those clapbacks to those negative comments in the story,
Hmm.
partially because it's fun for me and partially because sometimes there's good points to make and I'd like other docs to see how I respond to these questions or criticisms, or
Hmm.
patients to see my response. But the tagline that kind of went along with that is these hands are rated E for everyone. And
Hmm.
so now people look forward to these kind of monthly story posts of me roasting people in the comments. And you can handle that however you want. I tend to clap back. I tend to roast people in the comments. I
Hmm.
will provide insight where necessary. I'll be more professional and clinical where necessary, and I'll be what many docs would consider unprofessional or rude in responses as well. But that's just my personality. What I tell people
Hmm.
is do what seems authentic to you. If you are a confrontational person, be confrontational. If you are
Yeah.
someone who wants to avoid that, you can just delete the comment and move on. A lot of times, if they're saying something unproductive or that's not helpful at all, like they're just like, you're a quack, or you're going to give someone a VBI, I will just
Hmm.
go delete that. If they continue to come back to multiple videos or they come back in the future and comment again, I'll delete it again and then I'll block them so that they're gone from the channel. But if
Right.
there's something that has a point that maybe is worth addressing, I'll talk about it. If they do something that rubs me the wrong way, maybe I'll give them a little bit of shit back. Kind of just, see how I'm feeling on any particular day. Some mornings I wake up feeling
Hmm.
spicy. Some mornings I wake up feeling professional, and I kind of just handle it that way. But you
It's good to
can,
know you're just a human.
yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
you can delete it and move on with your life. You can delete it and block. There's a lot of ways
Right.
that you can do it. But what I will say is that comes with the territory. Like what social media does is it gives you exposure. What exposure does is it opens you up to criticism.
Hmm.
You're going to have to develop at least some form of a thick skin if you plan on being on social media. So if you find that these things that people say to you really deeply affect you and hurt your feelings,
Hmm.
one is, we need to do some self work on understanding that this person doesn't know us personally. They don't know anything about our lives. And so their perspective is not valuable to you
Hmm.
in terms of their criticism. But you do have to have a little bit of a thick skin to put up with it because I see something negative about me personally every day, multiple times a day when I get on my phone.
Right.
And so you do have to develop a little bit of that skin, but um, you also are gaining so much from it that it makes it worth it. To me, I gain so much in terms of new patients and exposure, and it's done such wonders for my business that eating a little bit of shit occasionally from these
Hmm.
comments is not a big deal to me.
Right. Well, you strike me as a calmly, very confident person, right? And so I'm sure your confidence has come from your certainty in what you do and from your business success. But have there been other things that have helped you, really stay grounded in being so self-assured that you'd say to other docs? Because so some of it obviously comes with time and experience and success and practice, but some of it I think is innate in people's abilities and who they are. It sounds like, yeah, you're a combative person, but you're very self-aware and you've developed a thick skin. Maybe you already had one, but what are some of the things that you do consistently to keep your confidence sharp, your certainty sharp, your mind sharp? Like what helps you?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it is innate. Like, I have a red beard. My hair on my head used to be red as well, so I grew up ginger. And if there's anything that a ginger kid can tell you is that you get viciously and relentlessly bullied as a child
Hmm.
for being redheaded because you're different than everyone else. So my entire childhood, I was bullied. I had people talking shit. So I developed a thick skin from a very young age from
Hmm.
just dealing with the constant bullying and nonsense from just how I looked.
Hmm.
And so there's a certain amount of just letting stuff roll off my shoulders that comes from that. And then, again, it really is just like, I know that these people don't know anything about chiropractic. They don't know anything about how it works. They don't know anything about me personally and my character. And so I'm not going to take and incorporate criticisms from people who don't know what they're talking about and don't know me in a serious way. So it's a little bit easier when you think about it in that framework of these people don't know
Right.
you, they don't know their head from a hole in the ground, to
Hmm.
let that kind of roll off. And then you do develop a certainty. I mean, think about when you start to get down, I try and think about all the wins. I try to think about all the people I've helped learn to adjust better, all the
Hmm.
people who I've helped be more successful in their practice, all the patients that I've helped get out of pain, and focus on okay, there's clearly proof that the world is telling me that what I'm doing is effective, that I'm good at it, and we're getting good feedback from the universe.
Hmm.
And then you're also going to get some of this bad feedback from the universe, but these people don't know you. They don't know what you're doing in your office every day. They don't know the
Hmm.
impact that you've had. So, I mean, that's a little bit of perspective. You know, I don't know that there's a good way if you are a truly sensitive person to just
Hmm.
fix that.
Right.
Um,
But I
so
also think
yeah,
it's important to, and you already alluded to this, like to market in a way that feels good to you and feels right with you and also aligns with your personality. I mean, I loved also content marketing. I mean, I'm older than you, obviously, and I've been in practice longer. So I was doing this 15 years ago when I could do it when my kids were in school and I could put on a little camera and do a video because it was a way that I could market without going to an event on the weekend or taking my hours away from parenting. And I love creating content for people as well. But not everyone is that comfortable. And some people get on video and they're horrible, right? And so you don't have to do videos if it's not your thing. Or, if you love to speak in public, great, do that. But I think you've already highlighted, like you found doing these kind of videos that you were inspired by other docs, obviously, but also it works for you and your personality already.
the The other thing too, and I encourage sometimes those introverted docs, like if you look at the majority of the videos that I do that are patient facing, so designed to attract patients rather than other docs, I'm not speaking to camera, right? So some people are really comfortable speaking to camera. Hey, let's talk about your headaches and why that might be going on. But you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to do that at all. You can just film yourself treating patients and post
Mm-hmm.
that. And so that was work you were already going to do. If you're filming yourself communicating, you're saying the same types of explanations that you always say to patients because you're communicating to the patient and not the camera. And so
Mm.
the strategy there of filming your treatments or filming your patient conversations is you set the camera up and then you try your best to forget that it's there. It's just a fly on the wall watching the work that you were already going to do, the explanations that you were already going to say. And so that can be powerful for introvert docs because you do go to your office, explain what's wrong with patients, and treat them.
Yeah.
And all you have
Yeah.
to do is film that and post it. And then if you
Yeah.
start to develop more comfortability in front of the camera and you want to do some talking head type stuff, talking directly to camera, you can start to build that skill. And that skill of being able to talk, not stumble over your words, restart 1,000 times, lots of filler words like that comes with repetition and practice. The more comfortable you get, the better you will do at not
Yeah.
fumbling through things as you're trying to film these videos. But you don't have to. So you don't have to look the camera dead in the eye and
Mm-hmm.
talk to the camera. You can just film yourself working. And that's why I think
Yeah, that's a
treatment
great
videos
tip.
are underrated for introverted docs.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I agree with you. I mean, people have sometimes asked me, like, oh, how do you do this? And you do that, you do the one take. I'm like, yeah, I did it in one take because one, I've done this for so long. I did television before I've done the podcast, made a ton of mistakes, had to do live television. You just get better at rolling with it and giving yourself grace around it. But also, I'm also not trying to be perfect. I would rather take one take of something and get it done and get it out to help people than make it polished and perfect. I know that, I think perfection is a paralyzer for people. So I think it's knowing yourself, knowing your personality, but knowing the audience if you're trying to create the content for. But you must have learned some best practices with YouTube. So if a doc is listening to you today and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to start making videos, like are there some typical like do's and don'ts that you would say for people?
Um, I mean, you want to on YouTube tell a story and you want it to be engaging. So I like on a very practical, tactical level, that can come
Mm,
down to your pacing on editing. A good way that you can start to figure this out, even for short form content,
mm,
is you can show a video to a friend or to someone else and try to watch at what moment they get disinterested or get distracted, or maybe they look up at you instead of continuing to watch the video and
mm,
try to get a taste for the pacing of the video because the first few seconds are very important. You want to have some type of attention getter or something that's going to make people stay. And then we
mm,
get into the storytelling, but we want to really focus on beats because with YouTube, the longer you watch a video, the better that video ranks in terms of the algorithm. Because what YouTube wants is for people to click on a video, stay on that video, and finish it. So if
mm,
people are clicking on your video and then immediately leaving, it tells the algorithm that maybe you've got a clickbait title or a clickbait thumbnail, and the video is not providing what you promised it would provide. And they don't like
mm.
that because it makes people bounce off their platform.
Yeah.
So you want when people click on your video that they click it and then they stay and they finish it. And so that comes down to your thumbnail and your title matching what's happening in the video,
Hmm.
delivering on the promise of the thumbnail and the title within the first few seconds, hooking the attention and giving them something to look forward to at the end. So that might be a preview of the biggest crack in the session, or you're right about to do it. And then it cuts
Hmm.
back to the beginning of the session where the patient starts telling what's wrong with them.
Right.
Then we want to pay attention to the pacing of the patient's story. We want to take someone on a journey. So no one wants to watch a 45-minute office visit interaction from start to finish with no editing,
Right.
right? Well, some people
Right.
may, but very few, right?
Yeah.
So how do we take a 40-minute encounter and turn it into a 10-minute video that has the patient's journey and a story that's paced well enough that someone's going to watch the whole video?
Mm.
That's how you're going to get more views, more impressions,
Hmm.
and more potential for new patients on YouTube. So it really is
Right.
about creating compelling content. And even in the shorts format, you don't
Right.
have to do TikTok dances to have compelling short form content,
Yeah.
but you do need to have some type of promise and some type of payoff and some
Right.
type of story. So it's not just a video, it's the patient's story or your story or the condition's story, whatever it is.
Mm.
And you want to make sure that we're cutting out as much dead air as possible and
Hmm.
delivering high value. When I post, especially for clinicians, what I think is if I spent a minute and a half watching this video, when it was over, would I be like, wow, I'm really glad I watched that video? Or I'd be like, oh, I want my minute of my time back. And I'm
Right.
really super, super focused on providing punchy, practical value in every video I post for clinicians.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be doesn't have to be overly edited, it doesn't have to be overly thought out. It can be something quite simple. And sometimes I think people just need to get started and start to track what works and what doesn't work and learn, not that they can't take what you just said and certainly do different researches and find different people to support them in video production to make it the best it can be. But I think for a lot of docs, it's just there's a barrier just getting started.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really, I mean, to put it simply, like film a treatment session and then
Hmm.
do your best to cut out the boring parts, right? So your video
Right.
might start, with the patient saying, "Oh, my neck has been bothering me so much since I fell off of my bike," right? The next
Hmm.
cut is you doing a quick exam on the neck. So maybe some range of motion. You check something and they go, "Ooh, ooh, that hurts." You go, "Okay, this is where we
Hmm.
need to adjust." And then you cut to you adjusting that segment. And then you cut to the patient going, you're rechecking the range of motion. It doesn't hurt anymore. They're like, "Wow, I feel so much better. I can't believe da 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 da."
Hmm.
End of video, right? It can be something literally that simple. So you take the whole encounter, but to improve your pacing, you're just chopping out the boring stuff and you're trying to tell a story from beginning to end. It's not, you don't need a production crew, a lighting crew, and things like that. And you do have to just get started. Like when I
Yeah.
first started, if you scroll back far enough on my timeline, I have
Hmm.
dark videos. They're poorly lit. The quality is not good. The angles are terrible. But I
Yeah.
just kept posting videos. And even those shit videos brought me in new patients.
Yeah.
But each time I posted a video, I tried to make it a little better. Is the quality
Yeah.
better? The angle a little better? This time we got a little bit better lighting, a little bit better patient reactions. And over time, you start to get a sense for how we get this to look good. And you'll
Yeah.
hone in on your personal style where people, they see your video and they immediately recognize, oh, that's Dr. Polson's clinic, or oh, that's
Yeah.
Dr. Tubio's clinic.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's also one of those things that it is a direct form of marketing. Obviously, you can put a call to action there, you can get people to come in, but for some people it's just that quietly building authority and credibility and name recognition and face recognition that can really help your practice in a different way.
The other cool thing about YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
they're owned by Google, which is the number one search engine. So when you search Dallas Chiropractor, I will be there on the first page, not because I've paid for awesome website SEO. My website is not on the first page, but
Right.
YouTube video previews show up at the top of the first page of Google. So if you type in Dallas Chiropractor, there will be other people who are paying for their website to show up on the first, other people who are paying for Google Ads. And then there will
Hmm.
be me for free because my videos on YouTube are SEO optimized for Dallas Chiropractor. And so I'm
Right.
getting first page exposure for free through
Right.
SEO optimizing my YouTube. And so that's something that a lot of people don't realize. The other thing too is people might be watching chiropractic videos on YouTube, just chiropractors from all over. And then finally they go, you know what? I want to get this done. Let me find someone near me. And then they switch from typing in chiropractic crack videos to typing in Dallas chiropractor. And lo and
Hmm.
behold, it's nothing but my videos when you type that in.
Right. How did you learn all this stuff? Like I'm here, so I'm listening to you, and I've got some videos on YouTube. And cool thing that happened to me recently, if there's another reason for docs to create videos. It's like I used to have a television show, but I haven't done that in a few years. One of the new producers for the community television reached out to me and said, "Hey, you got all these great videos on YouTube. We'd like to use some of them on as commercials for the community television. Do we have your consent?" I'm like, sure. Like I already produced this stuff. You're not asking me to do any work and yet you're going to give my videos more exposure now. So you never know how these things are going to create a ripple effect. But, how can people you must have resources. I don't want to take up our whole conversation here talking about YouTube strategies, but you know how to optimize things with SEO. Like, are there resources that you found really helpful that you think listeners might benefit from?
Yeah. So what I did for most of these things is just bootstrapped it. Just literally
Yeah.
get on YouTube and type in how to, do YouTube SEO, how to make your
Right.
YouTube videos rank higher, how to increase your watch time on YouTube. If you're
Yeah.
trying to do it for Instagram, how to improve your Instagram views, how to check your Instagram analytics and decide what to do. And you can watch other people who do this all the time and they make videos about it, and you can
Hmm.
start to learn those skills. I've for my coaching clients and then for my social media marketing course, which I have, I've kind of
Mhm.
aggregated all of this information and put it into one course that you can then purchase and
Yeah.
work through. And then I have coaching that I do with docs to help them work through it as well. And that kind of streamlines the process. But you don't have to do that either. You don't have to come do my course. You can
Hmm.
teach yourself to do everything that I've learned to do. And that's what I did is I picked one thing, right? So
Hmm.
when I started, my favorite social media platform was Instagram. That's where I spent all my time. So that's where I started. So I just
Right.
started with Instagram. As I started to get traction on Instagram and got that figured out, started running ads, learned how to do that, and that started working for me, I said, okay, time to branch out. Now I'm going to do TikTok. And I started learning all about TikTok, running the page over there, getting that going. Then I said, okay, time to get into YouTube. And I got the YouTube channel started posting videos there, got things going over there. So I learned one platform at a time. I learned
Mhm.
one strategy or approach at a time. And I would just spend, my free time. Like I would come home from work and I would spend, an hour or two a night looking up videos about YouTube SEO and how to make your YouTube videos better and slowly building up the YouTube channel over time with that information. You'd be surprised how much gold is out there for free. Just
Mhm.
video after video after video of people giving you
Yeah.
free strategies and free tips. And
Mhm.
then you can obviously pay someone if you want that streamlined into a step-by-step process where you don't
Mhm.
have to go through that process of searching.
Yeah, I was gonna say that there's lots of information out there for free. What you pay for is someone who's done it for you and can streamline the process and give you the best of the best. So there's your different options for in anything you're trying to find for your practice.
Absolutely.
And listeners, we'll be sure to put in the show notes, links to Strat's courses, to his website, to his YouTube videos. I'd love to know, like, you were an RMT for so many years. What made you want to become a chiropractor?
Yeah, so I did that for like 13 years and I started massage school when I was 17 and graduated, got my license right around my 18th birthday.
Okay.
And so I'd done it for a long time. I'd done it since I was young. And I just kind of was looking for a next step in my career. I was a young man. I'd been doing this for a
Hmm.
long time. And I was like, there's got to be something more. I wanted to help patients in a better way. I wanted to make more money. I wanted to have a career that was maybe a bit more prestigious, although that's a bit of a joke because chiropractic is not that much of a step up in terms of public prestige from massage. So that didn't work out the best for me.
Hmm.
Um, but I just wanted to do more. And I was
Hmm.
getting a little bored of massage. Like I'd done all the continuing education, I'd learned all the different types of massage. And, to be honest, I was getting bored. And
Right.
so I was looking into being a medical doctor. I was looking into physical therapy. And
Hmm.
then I got injured in jujitsu. I've been a martial artist my whole life. So I got thrown, got injured, and I've been struggling with this rib injury for like probably 2 weeks. It was looking like I wasn't going to be able to compete with our team at the tournament at the end
Right.
of the month. And I was actually very skeptical of chiropractors, thought they were witch doctors, and was not at all open to it. And so finally, my teammates were like, dude, tired of listening to you bitch and complain. Come get in the car. And he drove me to the joint,
Hmm.
and the doc adjusted my ribs. And I got up and I felt like 80% better immediately. And I was like, all right, well, what do I need to do? He's like, well, come back tomorrow. So he adjusted me again, and I was pretty much 100%. And then I was able to compete at the tournament at the end of the month. But I'm kind of a stubborn guy. So I was like, well, chiropractors are still witch doctors, but they're pretty good for ribs.
Right.
So I hurt my neck and I went to the chiropractor. They fixed my neck. I hurt my low back, went to the chiropractor. They fixed my low back. And finally, that's when it kind of sunk in. I was like, you know what? Maybe there's something to this. I'll start looking into it. And I didn't tour any schools other than Parker. Like I live here in Dallas. I looked up
Right.
chiropractic school near me. Parker came up. I went and said, what do I need to do? They said, go finish your undergrad and then come
Right.
back. And that's what I did. And ended up choosing chiropractic instead of PT or MD because of the way that a chiropractor helped me.
Right. And do you still love that choice? Do you have any regrets?
I don't have any regrets. I think chiropractic is awesome. I think it's
Yeah.
amazing what we can do for people. And I
Yeah.
would certainly not rather be a medical doctor or a PT now. At the
No.
time, I was just like, well, I want to do something else, something
Yeah.
higher status in healthcare. What is
Yeah.
that? And then your options are PT or MD. So I'm
Yeah.
really glad now I didn't do those things because I think I would have been miserable in a hospital, to be honest,
Right.
after having that experience at the VA.
Yeah.
Um, and then when I first opened my practice after graduating, I kind of had that like school programming. Like, in order to be a good doctor, you need to do the soft tissue, you need to do it yourself, you need to do the rehab because it's super
Hmm.
important to being a good evidence based clinician. You need to do it yourself. And I
Right.
remember one day I was maybe in practice about a year in, and I was doing a lot of rehab, a lot of soft tissue, but I had 8 hours of rehab scheduled for the day. And I
Right.
was dreading going to work so bad. I was laying in my bed and I was like,
Hmm.
I'm going to call in sick and cancel all of these appointments for the day because I can't stand the thought of going and doing rehab with these patients for 8 hours a day. And
Yeah,
so I
I'd be
finally
with
thought
you
to
on that one. I
myself,
would not do any of that.
I just don't like it. I don't, you're watching someone else exercise and counting the reps. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So, which no
Yeah.
problem if you like that. If you like that, that's
Yeah.
fine. But I didn't enjoy it. And so I had this moment where I said to myself, I was like, I opened my own practice so that I could do this the way that I want to do this.
Hmm.
Why am I doing something that makes me miserable to the point that I want to cancel all my patients in the book for the day?
Right.
And so about a year in, I radically redesigned my practice, went all adjusting, adjustment only, which is what I love to do. And I've
Yeah.
been way, way happier and way more fulfilled ever since.
Yeah. Well, I mean, our practices are similar and different. Our practices are similar, and I'm also adjustment only, but they're different in that I'm a very, we can break this down because we talked about this in the pre-chat. Like, I'm a vitalistic doctor. And I also believe I'm evidence-based because the stuff that I'm following in my practice relates to how adjustments affect the nervous system, how they affect the brain, how they affect the mechanics of the joint. And we can probably have a good conversation, maybe agree to disagree. I don't know. I like this conversation either way. But I love the power of the adjustment for what it does, right? And I think you said something interesting too about you don't think that RMTs and docs, like chiropractors, have much of a difference in their recognition in society. I'm curious about that comment because I would say the opposite. From my experience with patients, they're like, I love my massage therapist, but there's still something missing. And, then they look at, our knowledge base and at least how I communicate my knowledge base and, the papers on the wall and the things that we're able to help them with, and they see a different level of prestige for me compared to the RMTs in my community. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that there is definitely more, and your patients, what I would say is the people who are coming to see you as a chiropractor, they get it. They see it,
Right.
they understand it, they get it. They're always going to understand that higher
Hmm.
level of education, that higher level of therapy, and the way that you're able to provide for them. What I would say is like the cultural attitude towards chiropractic at large is not that much more advantageous or prestigious than it is towards massage. So, like when I was a massage therapist, the joke was
Hmm.
always, well, can I get a happy ending? Can I get a rub and tug?
Hmm.
Right? That's the joke that's always
Right.
levied at you, right? When I
Right.
became a chiropractor, it's like, oh, well, can you crack my back? Or oh, are you gonna kill me when you crack my neck? Right? It's the
Right.
same kind of jokes, like, oh, did you get your degree in a strip mall? Right? Like
Right.
it's the same kinds of things. You've got shows like Family Guy releasing the chiropractic episode where,
Right.
they get a mail order certificate. And so there's this kind
Right.
of societal level, cultural level, where it's
Yeah,
okay to make fun
that's
of
fair.
chiropractors and things like that, similar to
Yeah.
massage.
Yeah.
So to me, that felt familiar. Now, do I think that we're close in expertise to massage therapists? No, we're obviously way more educated and way more
Right.
informed than massage therapists were. Um,
I bet
but I
you've learned a
don't
lot
think,
of things too from doing all the videos, right? And getting feedback and you're probably more in tune with the public perception based on some of that experience.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
I am well aware of what chiropractic supporters and what chiropractic detractors have to say
Yeah.
about what we do.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, there's whole Wikipedia pages, there's whole like things on Reddit that are just almost dedicated to just trashing what we do. So I don't think we
Right.
could make an argument that we are very well culturally respected. Although what
Right.
you'll find is that patients of chiropractors absolutely rave about their chiropractors. We have some of the
Hmm.
most satisfied and happy patients out of any healthcare profession.
True.
But you're
Yeah.
not going to find us on the top of the list. When parents are uh, encouraging their children, right? It's like, oh,
Right.
be a doctor, be a lawyer. Like they mean medical doctor, they mean lawyer, they mean,
Yeah.
they don't mean chiropractor. And the
Yeah.
ambitious parents might settle for physical therapists, but they're not going to be thrilled when you choose chiropractic school. Is generally,
Yeah.
the cultural
Unless you're
perception.
me, and my son is at chiropractic school right now, so I'm thrilled about that.
Well, I would
But
love for my children to be chiropractors.
yeah, I mean, but honestly, too, Strat, I mean, and I just had the privilege of being at, the New Zealand College of Chiropractic, and I was talking to some students, and I was saying, the thing that's great about chiropractic as a career too is that you have such ability to differentiate yourself to really find a population of people that you want to work with, whether that's athletes or babies or, seniors, whatever. You have plenty of room for advancement. You have plenty of room for creating your own hours in different work environments. Like there's a lot of room that if you were to just look at a career choice, that chiropractic checks off a lot of boxes, right? And I think that if you can continue to stay grounded and certain and excited about the work that we do, all of us can, that's one of the keys to success. But there's really a lot of room in the profession for all the things that I think one needs out of a career.
Yes, and I think that one of the beautiful things about chiropractors is we generally have very wide scope. We generally have lots of different ways that we can practice, and so you're
Yeah.
afforded almost an ultimate kind of freedom in how you want to do things. And
Yeah.
for you on a personal level as an individual chiropractor, that's one of the great beauties of chiropractic. I think for us on a professional identity level, it is
Hmm.
one of our weaknesses because it's very hard to nail down
Yeah.
what chiropractic is and what a chiropractor does. It's hard for the public to know. If I was to just Google and pick
Yeah.
the top
I
10
agree.
chiropractors in
Yeah.
my area, those are going
Yeah.
to be wildly different experiences at all 10 of those offices.
Yeah.
And so our lack of uniformity, although it's beautiful for the individual provider, it's
Yeah.
very confusing for the public. And that's not doing us any favors in terms of our public perception.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you and I had people that relocated, if I sent someone, a patient of mine was going to Dallas for a month or 2 months and they wanted to get adjusted, my criteria for them to find a doc is going to be different than you if you've got someone who's going to Collingwood for a month and relocating, right? So, and I think it's an ongoing conversation. And I think it's just ongoing, honestly, respect and open-hearted, and real evidence and looking at the evidence with not just looking at the evidence that suits your practice style, looking at the evidence that supports a lot of different things as well. Um, I would love to know, like, how did you get into teaching? When did you know that you wanted to start coaching, technique, obviously business as well?
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. I end up teaching somehow everything that I do. It's like I feel pulled or called to teach. I started martial arts when I was 3 years old, and then I started teaching martial arts at the karate school. When I was 14, I started teaching the kids class, and when I was 18 or 19, I started teaching the adults class, and I did that until I was like 19, 20. And then I was a massage therapist, and I ended up teaching at massage schools. I ended up teaching massage therapy, continuing education. And then the goal was not to teach chiropractic, but I became a chiropractor. And then I started getting people reaching out, hey, I've never seen that adjustment before. Where did you learn that? How do you do that? And I started recording a few videos and sending them to people in DMs, like, here's how you work through this. And then I started teaching seminars. And just ended up doing this with chiropractic as well. So I feel
Mm,
like somehow life always leads me here. And then, I did the social media stuff for myself, and then people are asking me questions about social, and like you get tired of answering the same thing for so many people one on one.
mhm,
And so then you make a course or you teach a course about how you do the socials. And it kind of just
mhm,
ends up being how that goes for me. But really, what it was is I just wanted to, when I started my seminar company, I wanted to address some of the problems that I saw when I was a student, right? Like the technique seminar comes to town, you go, maybe they teach you 25, 30 techniques. And when that weekend is over and you go back to school, it's like maybe two or three of them that you got really solid on. And the rest of them, you're like, where were his hands and how was this? And so I remember like reaching out to someone who come through. I was like, hey, I'm having trouble with this technique. I can't really remember, what can I do? And they messaged me back and they're like, well, don't worry, we'll be back in Dallas next year and you can come again. And it's like, oh yeah,
mhm,
sure. I'll just pay you to come to your seminar again. And so
mhm,
some of the things I do with my seminars, like I wanted to correct some of that. Like I wanted it to be affordable for students. I
mhm.
don't think that it makes sense to charge docs more than charge students, right? Like, there's this
Right.
split fee, a lot of these seminars where students pay like $200, docs pay $600. I'm like, because you make more money, you now should pay more money for the same experience. I don't know.
Right.
So, I keep the prices low. It's priced with students in mind. I don't charge docs
Mhm,
more. When you come to my seminar, you get online access to all the techniques included with the price.
mhm.
I feel like you're not paying to spend time with me over the weekend. You're paying to learn the techniques. And so
Right.
you should be able to come back to the material over and over and over again until you've mastered it. And so
Mhm,
that's really what I said to do. I was like, if I'm going to teach this, I want to try and do this better.
mhm.
And in a manner that I wish it had have been done by other companies when I was in school. What's the
Right.
seminar experience that I would like, and then try to provide that. And that's kind of how I built my practices. If I was to go see a chiropractor, how would I want that experience to look? And then I tried to
Mhm,
build my practice around making that a reality. And that's kind of
mhm.
how I treated the seminar business as well.
Well, I think a couple things come up for me there. Like one, you're finding a need, right? You're looking at where is there a gap, and that's just smart business. If there's a gap in something, there's a pain point people are having with an experience. How do we solve that problem and find a new experience and a new solution for it, right? So that's smart. But it sounds to me like teaching is just in you. Like it's kind of just also who you are. If you did it when you were in martial arts and you did it when you were in massage, like it's part of what makes you you and probably a skill set that you have that not everyone has. So I think it's great that you've been able to honor that in different parts of your career and keep evolving with it.
That's someone asked me recently, they said, do you feel like you were called to be a chiropractor? And I said, I love being a chiropractor. I don't feel like being a chiropractor is my calling. I don't feel called to be a chiropractor. I do feel like teaching is somehow my calling. I feel like
Yeah.
that's what I was put on this earth to do, and that
Yeah.
chiropractic is how I'm doing it now.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have passion for it and skills at it too, right? That obviously help. I love that you can identify that, right? Because I think for docs too, so many docs are entrepreneurial, some of them are not. Some docs just listeners, they just want to go and be an associate and rock a great life and go home to their families. Other people have entrepreneurial ideas. It's not for everyone, building a business, running a business. So I think being able to identify who you are is always the foundation of what the work that I do with clients too. It's like, okay, wait a second, who are you? What are your skills? And what actually do you want for your life? And how do we build that rather than chase something else that you think you might want? Did you ever have that experience? Like, did you ever feel like you were trying to build a different business model and you kind of were like, whoa, this isn't working for me? Or have you ever had to reroute anything in your career?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the first experience with that was the VA thing. I just had this whole different idea of what I wanted to do. And you have
Yeah.
some confidence issues when you first graduate, and like I wanted to be perceived as real and a real doctor and have like authority. And so I remember bringing my white coat that they give you at school to the office, and I had worn it a few times treating patients, and I was like, this is silly, but I couldn't like let it go. So I hung it on the wall, try and borrow like a little cultural authority from the white coat on the wall. And you grow and you mature in practice, and I was like, I need to get this coat the fuck out of here, like none of this matters. And like you start to
Yeah.
realize what's going to work for you. But yeah, you're
Yeah.
almost trying on different approaches, or and until you figure out what genuinely is reflective of who you are as a person. Like I said, when I first started my practice, I did a lot of like soft tissue work, a lot of rehab, and I wasn't happy. I had to completely
Mm,
reorganize that and get the practice to a place where I was happy to be there every day. I was excited to show up for work and pumped about it instead of dreading it.
mm,
And
mm.
it's not always easy work to do to identify what you truly want. I mean, we can all say, oh, I want a big house and a white picket fence. But what you hear a lot of people say when they finally get there is that it feels empty, right? Or that they
Yeah.
thought that's what they wanted, and then they actually achieve it and they're not
Yeah.
happy with the life they've built. It's really not an easy skill to know yourself and to
Not at all.
predict what is going to truly make you happy. We have
Yeah.
some ideas like, oh, $10 million and I'd be happy. But
Yeah.
if I give you $10 million, you may have some superficial pleasures, obviously, but
Yeah.
will you truly be deeply happier or will you not? Right? Like,
Yeah, I think we get clarity from doing, right? I think two things come up for me. One is that, if you want a life of more ease, that's often gonna require some difficult choices, right? Like easy and ease are not the same thing. I mean, if you want a life that's easy, there's lots of things you could do. But if you want a life of ease, I think that comes from living in your truth and living in your alignment and finding your passion and your calling and doing more of the things that bring you joy. And sure, docs, like some things that don't bring us joy, we have to do. You have to sweep the floor, clean the toilet, or, have a difficult conversation, whatever. But in general, if you can continue to keep asking yourself that in a lifelong process and keep trying to know yourself, whether it's through books, resources, seminars, coaches, spiritual guides, whatever it is, like I think that's going to still lead you the right direction for yourself. Do you think anything for you has helped you most? Like, do you have any resources, mentors, coaches, things that helped you really get clear on who is Strat and what do I want to do with my career in chiropractic?
so, I mean, I've read like every chiropractic business book that exists. I basically just, researched them all on Amazon and ordered
Yeah.
them. And, you do get a little bit of like help from reading things that really radically don't align with you. So, like,
Yeah.
I've read some books and I'm just like, I don't love the idea of doing like dinner with the doc type stuff with patients. I don't love the idea of doing patient workshops where we teach about subluxation of the spine and things like that. So you'll
Yeah.
learn things that you don't want to do. that helps you get a little closer to what you do want to do. Maybe you get
Yeah.
some ideas, but it really is kind of a, I think, like you said, you're learning by doing. Like you may start implementing something and you just almost feel it. Like there's a bad taste in your mouth as the words are coming out. You're like, this
I
is
know.
not sitting
I
authentically with
know.
me and how I like to express. So, unfortunately for docs, it's like, I wish there was an easy way, like, oh, read this book. It will help you identify, your top 10 personality traits and exactly how your practice should be. But unfortunately, it's not that easy, right? You do have to kind of figure out what resonates and doesn't resonate with you. And I think every doc that I know that runs a successful practice has also developed a really strong gut check. Like you'll
Yeah.
hear something, you immediately get this sense of either like yes or no in your gut. And you get really good at listening to that and weeding things in and out, taking
Yeah.
things that make sense. And but the docs that I know that are really crushing it, they have this strong gut check sense when they get new information or a new business idea of whether or not that is or is not something that they're going to incorporate.
Yeah. And I think, getting clear on, you can have it all, but what does that all look like for you? Like,
Yeah.
what does that definition of success look like for you? Like, what it is for me might be different than you, might be different from someone else. I can tell you it's different for all the guests that I've had because I love having a variety of people doing different things. How do you define success for yourself right now?
So for me, it's about having the time to spend with my wife, spend with my family, and do the things that I want to do and live, a fulfilled life outside of my office. Right.
Yeah.
So, for some people, the idea of success is they own a huge practice. They've got 12 docs, they've got all these staff members. They're doing, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in revenue. They're $1 million, multi-million dollar clinic. And that's
Yeah.
their vision of success. For me, like, I work 4 days a week. I have
Hmm.
6 hour shifts. So I work like 24 hours a week and I
Right.
make plenty of money for me and
Yeah.
my family. And I get to travel and teach these seminars all over the world and all over the States. We get to do fun things.
Yeah.
And 3 days a week, I have to spend with my family and do
Right.
whatever we want to do. I've automated enough things to buy my time back and not have to be constantly plugged into the socials. And
Right.
so for me, you know, my success now is really looking on how am I able to enjoy my life outside of chiropractic and what
Mm.
impact am I able to make with other people? You know,
Yeah.
um, I really love when I'm able to help someone do an adjustment and they nail a cervical spinal adjustment for the very first time. Or they
Yeah.
tell me, hey, I watched your video and changed a little thing and I adjusted this patient who I've never been able to get their neck to crack before. Thank you so much. Or
Yeah.
I started posting on social, like you said, started running ads, and now my practice is doing super, super well. We're making more money than we've ever made before. Thank you so much. Like
Yeah.
I genuinely love helping other docs and helping patients in my practice. And
Yeah.
to me, that's what I like spending my time and my focus on is having my impact in the world that way and getting
Mm.
to enjoy my time when I'm not doing that. I don't want that to my work to take over my whole life.
Hmm. No, well said. And I mean, again, when I hear you speak about that, you got the heart of a teacher. Like I know that you're a great adjuster and building a great business and, obviously a savvy businessman, but it sounds like, people that are inspired and content and fulfilled by helping others see the potential in them and improve their skills, is a really great service and gift that you're offering to other people too.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you,
don't get me wrong. Everybody loves money, right? But that's
Yeah,
that's not
but
everything.
most people, and I don't know who said this to me recently, but it was like if you interview people who are struggling with their health, or maybe they're coming to the end of their life, or they're dealing with anything really hard, most of them aren't like, I wish I had gone back and made more money. They're also looking back, I wish I had better relationships, or I wish I spent more time with people. So I think, success is something that everyone should take a moment to define for themselves and then build again, then almost reverse engineer it, right? Like look backwards. Like if success for you is, a seven-figure business and this amount of staff and travel or whatever, then okay, then these are the steps required to create that outcome. If that doesn't create, like that doesn't define success for me, for example, so then I don't need to work like that to build successful, happy, fulfilled life and business because my definition of success is also rooted in impact and freedom and time and travel and beautiful experiences and simple things too. So I want more time for those things rather than I need, 7, 8 figures in my bank account.
it's important when you're looking at mentors or coaches that that coach or that mentor understands your definition of success. They don't necessarily have to share it, but they need to understand it so they can help you achieve it, right? You don't
Yeah.
want to be working with someone when you really value your time with your family, work-life balance, and things like that, who is trying to coach you into a system that's going to create this huge multi-staff, multi-million dollar clinic. If that's
Yeah.
not something that you're going to be happy, and you need to identify that quickly so that you
Yeah.
don't get yourself on the road to building this dream practice that ends up being your own personal nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah, and the quicker you realize that and find the right, support and mentorship coaching, the better off you'll be. It's much harder to untangle from things that aren't working than it is to build it right in the first place.
100%.
Do you have a phrase before? I know this has been a really great conversation. I'm really thankful for your time. I think we've covered a lot of ground. We've covered, tips on YouTube, tips on growth, private practice, what inspires you, how you stay, grounded in your work and your life and success. Is there something that comes to mind? If there is there a phrase or anything key that you find yourself repeating to people in like your coaching clients or yourself, like something that kind of just sums up, I don't know, your attitude towards life or business or that's guided you along your way?
Um, so I was thinking about this earlier. So I used to carry around a coin in my pocket all the time, and it was like a challenge coin, and it had a saying
Yeah.
on it. The obstacle is the way. And that's also
Mm.
the name of a book by Ryan Holiday, who's like a
Yeah, yeah,
Stoic writer, kind of comes
yeah,
from Marcus Aurelius and Meditations.
yeah,
But the idea is that when you are heading in the right direction, there are going to be obstacles on the road. And that's actually a sign that you are pushing yourself and that you're doing something new or something challenging or something
right,
worthwhile. And there is no easy path through life and no obstacle free path. And so
right.
the idea is that when there are obstacles, you figure out how you are going to
Hmm.
meet them and overcome them because the obstacles are not something that's blocking your path. They are the path and they show you
Right.
that it's the way forward.
It's almost like their
And
validation.
so, yeah, so sometimes when people are going through hard times, I've had a few docs that I've worked with. I actually ended up giving that coin to someone who was going through a really hard time. I said, I carried this in my pocket all the way through student clinic. It just helped me on those days where you wake up and you just feel like, God, how am I going to do this? To just have that in my pocket as a reminder that these obstacles are the way forward. I said maybe this will do you some good and gave it to him. That's something that I share with people is I'll tell them, hey, read the book if you want, but
Yeah.
try to view these obstacles and these challenges that you're having as illuminating and guiding your path forward. And as you become the person who can deal with these obstacles, that is how you become that future version of yourself that is better, right? You don't
Hmm.
have a painless path to get to a better version of you. And so
Yeah.
I would encourage you to start viewing the things in your life that are troubling you and um, giving you anxiety or pause as these hills that are going to give you the stronger legs you need to be
Hmm.
the person that you need to be in the future.
Hmm. Well said, and definitely something to give us all pause to move forward for. I think Ryan Halliday's books are great. I love a lot of Stoic philosophy. Income. I like what you said earlier too, just before we wrap up about it's good to read different things. It's good to read things that counter your general thoughts because I think it just keeps your mind open and diverse to new ideas. But sometimes it can also just strengthen you and realize, yeah, that's not for me. I really am over here, or this philosophy is great and I understand people who have it, but it's not for me, or it gives you more compassion or more understanding. So I think I've certainly picked up some books and be like, yeah, this is not me, but I'm going to read it anyway because I think it's going to be interesting and give me a different perspective on something. So thanks for sharing all that. Thank you for your time today. I appreciate the work that you're doing to help chiropractors. I appreciate the quiet confidence that you have. Maybe it's not always quiet, but I can see it. I see you personally here. These videos are not usually released for the rest of you guys listeners, but it's been a pleasure getting to know you today, and I look forward to watching what other things that you have coming up in the near future. Listeners, be sure to check in the show notes. We'll put all the links for Strat's courses and his contact and his Instagram handle. We'll put it all there for you. Do you have any last thoughts before we wrap up here?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. I'm always happy to chat with other docs, and I hope that there's something in today's conversation that was really helpful for someone. And if there's anything that stuck with you or anything that made an impact on you, I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, great.